Hey geeks, it's Jenny from Geek Queen. Today what I want to cover is another episode on our platform, and what I want to cover today is headings and text. So I'm just going to start with a little intro on how you should actually lay this out on your pages. And this is actually very important. And while this first 5 minutes is really kind of SEO based, it has a huge factor on the relevance and the presentation of your page. And it shouldn't be done any other way. So this is what I just want to talk to you briefly about first. And then I'm just going to cover the headings and the text widgets. Okay, so to begin with, from a Google perspective, there's lots and lots and lots of factors that I'm not even going to go into here, but a good place to start with your website is always the top kind of what we call on-page SEO edits that you can make. So a couple of these are off-page, a couple of them are on-page. The off-page you won't have any control over. Well, you will, but by this stage, by the time you got to the editing, kind of we would have said all that. But if you can imagine, Google takes into account things like your domain name, and these are varying factors. Some are like tiny, tiny factors. Some are larger factors. Some are fairly significant factors. But when I mention these things that what Google takes into account, just remember that it's the combination of these things that can produce the most results. And again, I have to state this is just a tiny, tiny slice of SEO, but it's what you can do, and it's what you should do to make sure everything is kind of starting from the right point. So from Google's perspective, they take into account things like the name of your page title, which is actually different, your domain name, your heading 1 tag, your heading 2 tag, the first paragraph on your page, how well your images are named, and what the alt tags are on your images, and all these kind of things. So while this is sounding very, very confusing now, I get it, but it is a very, very vital part of positioning on your page. So that's why I'm covering this now. So there's no point me showing you, what titles are and how to change them and how to format them and all that sort of stuff if you do not know how to use them, because then you'll just be wasting your time and possibly doing harm. So we're going to use the whole doctor mentality, first do no harm. Okay, so looking at this page, you can see here's your menu up here, which is where everyone expects it to be. That's your header section. The next section under here has the image, and it has all this information here, which will look quite common to you. This is a layout that you'll see on a lot of different websites. Now, this has got nothing to do with websites being from pre-made templates or themes or, whatever you like to call it. Things are done this way because that's what Google likes, okay? And that we all bow to the gods of Google. Okay, so when you ring me up and say, I want this really cool site, and I want it to be all black, and I want the menu on the left, and all images, and I want to hover to create menus, and all this kind of stuff, that's great if you're Coke and you're spending millions of dollars a year sending people to your website. But if you're Joe Blow Cafe on the corner, you're just going to waste your money, and I won't do it, to tell you the truth. So when you come to me and I suggest different layouts and I create things in a particular way, it's not a template. I'm not like going, oh, that's $10, I'll use that and go from there. It's because this is a tried and tested way to lay out your website, to have everything in the right place for Google, and so your search is actually, your website is registering somewhere in the deep dark depths of Google searches. Okay, so what you're looking at here, like I said, got this big one here, female travel, a smaller one, and then some text. So what these actually are is this one here. This is a heading 1 tag. So in your widgets, when you come over here to your widgets, this large title, see how it says H1 in brackets? That's what that is. This small title, see how it says H3? That is that one there, actually. However, these are fully editable. So I'm going to just drag this on here. Okay, now I'm just going to have to highlight that so you can see it. And you can see here, see that says H1. Okay, so that shows it's a heading 1 tag. Now what I could do now is I can change that to heading 2. So I'm going to have to highlight it again so you can see it. And you can see it's changed. It's a different font, it's a different size, it's a different color. Now I've specifically sent these to be different fonts and colors and sizes just for the purpose of showing you, but you don't necessarily have to do that, and typically I probably wouldn't. What I tend to do is set the heading 1 tag to be something, kind of like this is, it's what would you call it, almost cursive, I guess. It grabs your attention, it's easy to read, but it's a little bit different. Whereas this one down here, this heading 2, that's kind of just bold, simple, easy to read, normal text you'd find, and your actual text here is, or down here is just kind of like normal text. So typically that's what you would do. So sorry, let me highlight this again. I'm going to change him back to heading 1. Okay. Now what I'm actually just going to do to begin with is I'm going to give him a background. So now to do that, what I've done, any of these headers or text, if you click in here, what you're effectively doing is editing the content. So you're editing the text. So the font, the size, the color, you can change it to a different heading level, add a link, kind of do whatever you want to do. However, when I actually right click on this, so what I've done is I'm just hovering here. I haven't clicked on this at all. I'm just hovering. So once I've hovered to select that, I right click, and then you have all these other options. I'm going to go to edit design. Okay, and all I'm going to do is scroll down here. I'm going to add a background. I'm going to make it that color. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it on the wrong one. I'm doing it on the wrong one. That can stay, that doesn't matter. It's this one I want to do. Edit design, and I'm going to add a background. I'm going to make him kind of white. Just a bit transparent so I can see through it to the image. Right, there we go. And now you can see that text. So I just kind of did that so you can see that text. So these are both heading 1 tags, and you can see that, this one's white, this one's not. Now what I want to show you, but I would prefer that you didn't edit willy-nilly because it will affect your whole website. What I'm going to show you is this little design tab up here. Now if we come in here, see how this says global design. So it doesn't mean it's designed for all over the world, it means for all over your website. So if we look at this first one, this global text, and we click on him to open him. So this is just our paragraph text, which is this text here, this text here. So you can see that's the fonts, the font type, the size, the color. It's not bold, it's not italic. The link is that color, and the link becomes underlined, what have you. Now if we go down here, I don't think I can close the text. I can't close the text, no. If we go down here, I'm just going to close him so you can see. Alright, you can see down here we've got from H1 to H6 global titles. So that's just there your heading tags. So if we click on this one, so you can see now here is this font, I can't read that, Dynalight, yep. He is 72, and here's this kind of caramelly browny color. So that means for every H1 tag you drag onto your website as a widget, like this one, it's going to be this color, this font, this size, this color, this font, this size. He's not bold, underlined, italic, and he's just normal text direction. So that's what he's going to look like. So if we change that in here, so if I change this to be this color, you can see it changes there. Sorry, I'll just close this. And you can see he's changed already. So he's already reflecting the changes, but this one isn't. And that is a H1 tag, but he's not reflecting it. Now the reason he's not is because I've edited him manually. So I'm just going to go back. Oh, and that brown's gone now, damn it. I always do that. It should be in another. Oh no, he's not in another one. Oh, I'll have to come back and do him. Sorry, I should have saved what color he was, but I forgot. Not to worry. I'll have it in my book somewhere. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to globe 1, and I'm just going to pick one. That's kind of close, isn't it? So I'm just clicking on here anywhere. That will do. That will do. Okay, and you can see he's changed back already. Okay, now the reason he's immediately reflecting what I've done in here is because I haven't done any editing. I've just gone to the widget and dragged him on. So by default, I've already said what color, what font, what size he's going to be. Okay, now this one, if I click in here, what I've actually done here is I've edited him to be white and to be bigger. See, here's 96 points. This one was only 72 from memory. So what I can do, if I highlight him, this little button here which says clear format, if I click that, it's going to take out any styling I've done and take him back to what this default was up here. And now you can see that to be true. You can see now he's the same size, he's the same color as that. Now the background is still the same because I edited that myself. So that's not actually, the background is the background of the text box, not necessarily this heading. So to cut that out, I'd have to, oh sorry, I've already clicked in here. I just need to get out of there. Hover, right click, design. And I'm going to go down to the background, and I'm going to change him back to transparent. Okay. And again, you still kind of can't really see him because he's brown and hides on the image. So what I did there is I highlighted him like that, and I changed him to be white, and I also changed him to be 96, and I changed him to be center aligned. Okay, and click, and there he is back again. Okay, so that's what the difference is between if you just drag a widget on and whatever has been set up in here, which we set up when we created your website, if you drag the widget on, it's going to have those defaults automatically. You can, like you just saw me there, you can edit it, you can style it to be different. However, if you change this up here, it's not going to change any of these heading ones that you have stylized. So if you've just been happy with it and you've dragged it on and you've done it on 15 pages, it's all good. And on the 16th page, if like this, there was an image behind it that maybe the image was really light up here and you couldn't see the white, so you change it to a different color. If you edit the global design, it will not change the ones that you've already stylized yourself. So you're just going to have to remember that and go back and remove that style. But like I said, super simple, highlight it, click the little remove formatting button, and you're all good. I'm just going to delete this one now, I don't need him. Okay, so what I'm talking about with placement is this being your heading 1 tag. He has to be at the top. So underneath your header, you can see if I hover here, you get this little orange in the header. That's the header. And this first row, section, whatever you'd like to call it under here, that's where your H1 tag needs to be. So there should be nothing above this, no images, no other text. You should be, this H1 tag should be the first thing on the page. So effectively, this is the body up here, this is the header up here. Anything inside here is the body, and then when you get to the bottom, you've got your footer. So effectively, the first thing inside the body should be your H1 tag. Okay, so if it's not there, drag it on now and give it something appropriate. After that, this is a H2 tab. If I click on this, you can see it's a H2. Now, I've highlighted him and made him capitals. He isn't by default. I've just made him that way. And then this is just text. Now, the difference between this, if I click on this one as a header tag, you can see he is H2. And if I click on the text, see there's no option to change the header in there because he's just text. To make any of these, when you look at your widgets, like I said, you'll see you have a large one and a H1 and a H3. Any of these can be changed. So if we drag a H1 on, and he's going to be, I'm just going to put Jen's new H4 text. Sorry, I'm just going to have to change his color so you can see him. Okay, and then when I click in there, if I select this, I can go down and change him to be H4. And you can see he automatically changed there. Jen's new H4 text, okay. So that's how you change the header. So you don't, even though you only see a 1 and a 3, either of those can go from 1 to 6. Now, the other thing that you need to know with headers, let me just delete him, is that they're hierarchical. So if you look at it and envision the contents, the table of contents in a book, so you have like the book name, which would be like H1 tag, and then you have like a chapter, which would be a H2 tag, and then you might have, 3 different sections under your chapters, which might be H3 tags, and then your text is actually the story, the text on your page. So if you kind of think of H heading tags like that, they are hierarchical, and it is important that you use them that way. So effectively, your H1 tag is your main title, and it's telling Google what this page is about. Now, while you do have to use, or you should use some keywords or phrase or something like that, it also has to be written for your viewers. So Google doesn't like it, and it's smart enough to know if you're just trying to put keywords in there. If it's just like travel, budget, what can I say? Travel, budget, adventure, mature, for example, that might be my market. My market is mature-aged people who travel on a budget looking for adventure. That doesn't make sense to read it. Okay, so that's not visually appealing, or doesn't make sense to your reader, which is what Google is also after. And they're after that more than the keywords. So you can't just stuff things in and think it's going to work, because Google's smarter than that. So you can see what I've done here. So I've gone female travel for over 40. I really would like to do solo female travel for over 40 because I am mostly a solo traveler. However, travel, females, and over 40 is my main market. If I put solo in there as well, I'm just starting to dilute it. So women that come to my website that have looked for over 40s travel, they will come to my website, and they might come because also they're female. If I add solo in there, it just kind of waters everything down a little bit more. So what you have to kind of do is define 3 or 4 very strong, very prominent keywords that your website is about, and use them in your heading 1 as a way that makes sense. So as a sentence, as a description, that's what you're trying to do. Okay, so that's your goal for your H1 tag. It has to be the first one on the page, and it has to be the only one on the page. Never, ever, ever put more than one H1 tag on a page. Okay, because this is what tells Google what your page is about. So if you add another one thinking, oh, I'm just going to get more traffic if I do this, you won't, because now you're diluting your market even more, because you're telling Google that you have 2 heading tags that say different things, so you can't really decide what you're about. And your clients are their clients. So they're not going to show their clients a website that may or may not be relevant to the search. I hope that makes sense. So one hashtag only, that is set in stone. Never ever go outside of that. The other, once you get down to H2 and H3 tags, no problem. You can use them, quite easily. However, what you should do, the best principle to use is, like I said, use them like a kind of like a table of contents. So your H2 tag here, how I've used this is I've described what my website is here. Then I'm saying adventurer, hiker, and blogger. So I'm a blogger, I hike, and I didn't want to use travel again, primarily because I use travel all over my website. It is a travel website, and that is fairly obvious when you land on it. But I wanted to attract a market of people that are more mature, but, don't want to travel in a bus, don't want to do the, old people can take you tours, which I can't remember what they're called. But, they don't want to go around Canada in a 60-seater bus, removed from everything. They want to be on public transport. They want to, so can you see where I'm going with this? Like, so I thought of another word, excuse me, that is again reinforcing my market, but just a little bit, probably a little bit more refined, for want of a better word. And then this sentence here, I'm actually just going to give him a background so you can read him, because he did have a background. I just took it away to show you, so just put that there so you can read him. And then this paragraph here says, join me for real travel experiences from some amazing destinations, grab useful tips, incredible photos, surreal stories, blah, blah, blah. So what I've managed to do here is do 2 sentences about what you'll get on the website that, again, use my keywords. So real travel experiences, amazing destinations, useful tips, incredible photos, travel stories. So this is kind of like, again, I'm reiterating what I'm doing, but I'm doing it in a way that is infinitely readable and hopefully, will entice people to kind of look a little bit further. So this is possibly kind of like what you want to aim for as an ideal kind of layout for each page as a header. Now, in saying that, this is my home page, so people are going to expect to come here and see, literally as much information as I can provide them for what my website's about. If this was a gallery, say, for the Philippines, this tag might say, amazing travel photos from the Philippines, because it's travel photos and it's the Philippines. And that might be the only thing I have in this header. And then in this next section, I might have like here, my first photo, and then a H2 and my paragraph here. And that's fine. You don't have to have it all in this first section, but it should appear in that order. So you should have a H1 tag, and then you don't even have to do the H2. You can just do a paragraph. And then you could do a H2 down here in another paragraph. That's fine, but it should have a H1 tag and then preferably a H2 tag and then your paragraph text that it reinforces. That all these things combined should reinforce what this page is about. Now, weirdly, I always think that your home page is the hardest one to do this for, because it has to be relatively, this page isn't literally, it's not a gallery of travel photos from the Philippines. So it's not really specific. So you have to use broader search terms and and things like that. So it's not as easy to write this stuff for your home page as it is for your other sub pages. So just keep that in mind, because once you kind of write this one and then you're like, God, I have to do this for every page. This is a nightmare. But you'll find when your pages are quite specific, this gets much, much easier to do because the relevance is much more refined. So I hope that's explained the relevance of these header tags and the text tags. Now just to do a brief bit of editing to show you what you can do with them. So again, if I click inside the actual text or the header, what I'm doing in here is I'm editing this text. So I'm changing, whether it's bold, the color, the font, the size, I'm changing all that about the text. When I actually hover on it and right click, this is what I'm doing, the text box. So you see that blue border, that's the text box. So whatever I'm doing in here is affecting the box, not the text inside it. So if I go to edit design, for example, and you still do get all your options to edit your font, your format, and what have you. However, you can put an image as the background if you wanted to. You can change the background color, like let's change it to green. Okay, now when I've changed it to green, immediately you can see it. If I want to make that transparent, I just come down here and I just drag it for as transparent as I want it. Okay, you can do a gradient. So I could do, I don't have any gradients in here. Oh, okay, sorry, that is showing gradient. So that's from the green to, let's change this one to be red to show you what it's going to do. Okay, and then you can see from green to red. Okay. Oh, now if I do it again, color, and you can see that that looks like a gradient. So if I want to go back to color, I just click on this color, and I'm back to the green because that's what I had before. What else you can do is the spacing. So if you look at this spacing, so what this is if you look at that blue border around there and you imagine this inside is that blue border, that will really help you with the spacing. So by default, it always opens on this top one. So if I change that, you just keep it on the screen. If I change this to 50, okay, if I tab, it'll move past that. And you can see now there's 50 pixels of space above the text because I'm inside the box. Now, if I go up here, which is outside the box, and I'm going to change that to 150 just so it's a big impact and you see it, look how much that means. It puts a space above the box. So if you imagine inside this box is inside this box and outside this box is outside the blue border, that will help you with your spacing. Okay, so I'm going to take that back to 30. Moves it up, and if you tab through these, it just tabs on to the next one. So that's your right. I don't want any padding on the right. On the bottom, oh, it's 30. I'm happy with that. At 0 on the left, that's fine. And then I'm going to come inside the box. I'm going to take that back to 25. I don't want anything on the right. I'm going to make 25 on the bottom as well, though, and then make that 0, and that's fine. Okay, so we've done that. We can click on this little cog up here and just do the alignment. This clear padding, what that's going to do is that's going to clear all these and set all these back to 0. So the padding is actually kind of the spacing, so that's what that's going to do. We can do an entrance animation, so we can make it fade in. Let's go fade in from right. You can see what that does. The hide here, you can hide this on your desktop, tablet, or mobile. I'm going to touch on those later. That's a lesson in itself, but just to show you. And you can copy it or you can paste it. So if I copy it, for example, now that I want to paste it, I have actually to, just say I'm using this one again, I hover, I'm just hovering, I right click and I go paste. Paste is always going to put whatever you're pasting there above what you're pasting. So if I do it on this one, paste, it's going to go above there again. You can see, so I'm just going to get rid of these extra ones. If I did it here, it's going to go above. It always puts it above it, and all you would have to do is just kind of like drag it down if you wanted it at the bottom. Okay, so just to show you again, what else can you do? This is one's very handy, selecting a container. This isn't all of them. So if you want to select the column or the row, sometimes if you've got something that takes up the entire column, it's hard to select the column. So you can do it here and just select the column. You'll see you get the column design there. Just going to click anywhere out of there to get rid of that. I could lock it so you can't edit it. Connected data, don't do that unless I've had a really good conversation with you about that. And the same with an anchor, don't do that unless I've had a really good conversation with you about that. You can, add a new widget, like whatever you want to add, kind of thing. So yeah, so hopefully that shows you. And your text is the same. You just right click and you can edit the design. So if I want to take that background color away, just go back to transparent. And you can't really see that a bit. So I'm actually am going to add one in there, but I kind of want it to be a bit grey. And take down the opacity a bit. Sorry, I can't see this where this. Oh, that's worse, isn't it? That'll do for now. I'm going to edit it later anyway. Okay, so and that's the same in here. The style you can change. You can add an image as a background. You can change the spacing, all that kind of stuff. Actually, I'm going to do that there because that's got no padding on the. So I'm going to go 25 on the left and 25 on the right. Oh no, that's a bit too much, isn't it? So 20. Sorry, just go around 20. Okay, and you can see that's put padding in here. Without that, I'll show you, just without it, you can see that aligns right to the edge of the box, and that's fine, but with the border, with the background in it too, it's just a bit, I don't really like it, so I'm going to make it 10 actually. Just going to keep tabbing 10, that's better. Okay. So yeah, so that's it. So it's pretty easy to use, and like I say, just remember on each page, only one H tag at the top, paragraph or H2 tag and paragraph underneath that. Doesn't have to be in the same section, can be in the section down here. So these could not be here and it could be just that. That's fine, but this much must be the first thing on the page. Okay, and only one H tag on the page, and you can change it however you like. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's helped. And like I say, you can feel free to come up here and edit the design text. Or, however, make sure that you check your entire website after you've done that, because if you have stylized everything, this won't change it and it will be different to the others. So I'd prefer that you don't go in here and change this global design unless you're supremely confident with it. So I hope that helps, and yeah, join me next week for lesson 2. In lesson 2, we're going to start with images. So we'll talk to you then. Thanks.